What's up guys, it's Meg and it's that time of the week again where we get to talk about the best show on television, AMC's The Walking Dead. Today we're discussing the mid-season premiere, Season 6, Episode 9, No Way Out. What did you guys think of the episode? I just, when I was thinking about this review, I was like, I don't even have words to put into like this video that describes just how much I loved this episode. It was just mind-blowing, brilliant, epic, amazing, awesome. The most incredible episode I feel like we've had in a really long time in the Walking Dead series. I'm just blown away at just how amazing it was, and I'm probably gonna be saying amazing a lot in this review. So I'm sure you guys love the episode too. I just can't imagine any of you hated it. It was such an epic comeback for the series. It made this wait that we've had over winter, you know, the winter hiatus here, just that much more bearable, knowing that hopefully the rest of Season 6 is going to be just as awesome as this very first episode. So let's get right to the review. Before we get started, I wanted to show you this awesome necklace. I don't know if it's gonna zoom. My friend Ashley got this for me over Christmas and I've been meaning to show you guys. She has a YouTube channel as well. She does many things, but she also does Walking Dead reaction videos. So I'll put a link to her channel in the description. Make sure to go check her out. Send her some love. She sent me this necklace. There. So it's Walking Dead, obviously. It has like a Rick Grimes hat, Carl hat. Dale binoculars. Dude, come on. I love Dale. It has Rick's revolver. It also has the hatchet that he has been using a lot lately. He just used it in No Way Out, which was awesome. And then it has crossbow, and then it has a little lantern. So definitely like zombie Walking Dead related. Really awesome. She actually also gave me a zombie soap that she made. Is it still zoomed? Look at this guy. I haven't used it because it's amazing and I want to save it, but now it has some dust because it's been on my desk. Look at that, she made that. Look, it's got a bloody stump. Pretty awesome. Okay, let's get back to the review. So, thank you, Ashley, too. I should say thank you. Thank you a million times over. I've already said thank you to you, but super awesome. And she said she got this on eBay, so maybe if you guys want one, you can go check that out as well. Okay, the episode started out, so there were the first 4 minutes that had already aired online. I did not watch it, but I knew it was about Negan's group and how, you know, moving up towards how Daryl and Abe and Sasha are going to get away. I didn't watch it though because I really hate those first 4 minutes. You know, the episodes are so short already that watching those first 4 minutes, wow, that is like a weird tongue twister for me this morning. Watching those first 4 minutes would just kind of spoil the excitement for me of when the episode came back, even though it didn't really spoil anything in the show. So that scene, really amazing. I really liked the guy that was leading, I don't think we have his name, but that was leading that group of saviors because he was kind of funny and I hated him right away, and I was like, oh, I hate you because you're so smug. But the way, you know, we were wondering this whole time, how did Daryl and Abe and Sasha get out of there? You know, were they gonna fight or were they gonna just hand over their guns and drive back? And at first I thought, well, maybe they will, but we don't really want to take these guys back to Alexandria because that's really scary. So one of the guys takes Daryl behind the fuel truck, you know, you guys saw it, and all of a sudden these guys blow up and you're like, what? Like, it was so shocking and unexpected because it kind of seemed like there was no way out for them to, you know, keep their stuff and, you know, not have to fight these guys. And then he just blows them up with a rocket launcher. And I was a little bit like, are we sure that Daryl would have been able to take this guy out so quietly that nobody knew? Because I feel like even a slight struggle would have been noticeably audible, you know? So that was a little bit like, meh, for me. But an amazing scene, just to see those guys suddenly explode was just like such a perfect way to start out this epic episode. Moving along, we see lots of things. There's so much to talk about. I'm just gonna go down my list and I'm not gonna hit every little thing that happened in the episode. So Gabriel takes Judith to the church alone. We see them leave the house. They're all covered in their ponchos, and this whole time, you know, we have this feeling that Carl is gonna get his eye shot, and this whole time we're like, what's gonna happen to Judith because she's under Carl's poncho? Gabriel takes her, and the whole time I'm thinking, this is Gabriel. Now we know he wants to redeem himself, but he's not the best fighter, and he's trying really hard, and I applaud him for that, but I was so scared for him taking Judith. And then we don't see Judith or Gabriel until like the very end of the episode, where we find out that they're safe, and Gabriel gives this great speech about how they've been praying, and now God's given them the courage to take back Alexandria themselves. And I just got chills listening to him talk at that moment, because you can see the growth that Gabriel has had throughout since we very first met him, that he's not going to hide in the church again. He's not going to hide in the church and let other people die for his town again. And when he goes out, you know, part of me wanted to say, you promised you'd stay with Judith. We can't trust these other Alexandrians not to freak out and feed her to the walkers. But I loved that he took a stand finally, and he went out and he said, I'm not going to, you know, he's like, I'm not going to stay inside and just let other people fight. God's given them the courage to take it back themselves, and it was just an amazing moment. So moving along, you know, they have this plan to go to the quarry to get the cars to come back, lead them away. It sounds like a crazy plan, but they're gonna do it. Partway there, Sam starts freaking out, and he's hearing, I mean, I thought it was really important, this moment, for him to not just freak out about the walkers, because he looked like he was getting courage after he said mom a couple times in the beginning. You know, he must have quieted down. I didn't like that it kind of skipped that entire portion in the episode. So we saw that at the end of the last episode 8, and then it kind of skipped that mom, and at that point, that was when we thought the walkers were going to converge on him, but somehow they didn't, and they kind of skipped over like him being quiet there. And then all of a sudden it gets dark, you know, and they're walking, and he starts seeing the walkers, and he hears Carol's voice in his head, and that was such an amazing moment. You know, everything about this episode, the way they filmed the shots, the way that they added this psychological factor into the episode, where you hear Carol's voice saying they're gonna rip you apart, I'm gonna tie you to a tree, they're gonna eat you, whatever her exact words were echoing in his head. And at that moment you start seeing all of these walker faces chomping and nibbling, and it just gave me chills, and it was such a creep factor, because and I don't even know how to explain it to you guys, and I'm sure you know, but when they zoomed in on the walker faces and you just see them kind of chomping and eating, you know, and ripping and tearing, and then he sees the little boy and he freaks out, and it was just this culmination of his fears, and he's been hiding in his room for so long, he's scared of these monsters, and he was able to get the courage to come out here, and then Carol's words are like eating away at him, and it makes me really sad. I feel like the fact that we heard Carol's words, and then later in the episode we see Carol saying she should have killed Morgan when she had the chance. I feel like Carol, I love Carol so much. I don't want her to die, but the way they're playing her in this first episode kind of makes me worried for her future in this season. That something may happen, something is going to culminate, something is building, maybe for her demise, and that's going to be really sad. But just the fact that we heard her words echoing in Sam's mind, and then we see the scene with her and Morgan, I'm just like, there's something just not. And we see her kill the wolf, and I just have a real unease about her future in this season. It's very scary. But moving on to Sam, all of a sudden he's being eaten, and it's such a heart-wrenching moment. And mind you, in my reaction video, I'm very excited to see these scenes, these iconic comic book scenes brought to life on the television. It's the most amazing thing to be so obsessed with the comics and to have this moment. It was such a shocking moment in the comics where you're just like, oh my gosh, what is happening? You know, we like Jessie. I didn't really like Jessie in the comics. I like her more in the show, but you know, Rick's finally caring for this woman, and she's being eaten, and her son is being eaten in front of her. And can you just imagine, for those of you who have kids, watching your child being torn apart in front of you? Like, there's no way you wouldn't do exactly what Jessie did. She screamed, she's horrified, and then you just kind of lose the will to like go on after seeing something like that, and it's horrible. And she's gone. And I would have liked, the only thing I would have changed about the scene is I really loved the effectiveness in the comics of Rick chopping off Jessie's arm when she was begging for his help. Now Sam's being, or it was Ron in the comics, but I think, right? But her child's being eaten. She's refusing to let go. She's being eaten, and she's yelling for Rick to help her, don't leave her. And that was a very strong scene in the comics because Rick, you know, ignored that and was like, I have to save Carl, and he chopped her arm off while she was yelling for him for help. Now in the television show, she was just overwhelmed and overcome with walkers and didn't even really care at that point, even though she wasn't letting go of Carl's hand. Now, I love the chopping scene. I mean, it was just brilliant. I love that. But I would have loved to hear her screaming for Rick for help. I feel like it would have been more effective. It also would have been worse for Rick having to chop her arm off while she's still like coherent and begging for his help to save her. But, you know, we can't get all the scenes that we want. We see Ron with the gun, and he is just done. You know, he's done with Rick, he's done with Carl. He just saw his mom and his brother get eaten. It makes total sense that he's willing to shoot Rick. And then we see Michonne come up behind him and just stab him with her katana, and he's gone, but he gets a shot off. And I loved, it was so friggin' amazing, this scene where Carl turns around and, you know, you can't see above his hat and you just see a little bit of blood right here. And then he just slowly like looks up and says, Dad, and you see the entirety of his wound and the blood, and then he's down on the ground and Rick's face. And I was just blown away at how brilliant that scene was brought to life on the television. I mean, it was so, I remember the day I read the comics and saw that image and I thought, Carl's dead. How can he survive that? It looks like half of his face is blown away. And then miraculously he survived. And just to see that image brought to life on the screen was just so amazing for me. And it just brought so much joy. And there were a lot of comments on my channel about why were you laughing when he got his eye shot out? Now guys, some of you are being sarcastic and funny, and I appreciate that. I can appreciate that. Obviously, I look a little crazy laughing at such a sad, like, awful scene. Mind you, this is a television show. I cry, I laugh, I love it. I'm emotional, I'm attached to the show, I'm attached to the characters. I knew Carl wasn't going to die, so I'm not particularly gonna be horrified over it, especially knowing that it was coming. I was very excited for the scene. I mean, it's not real, guys. So the fact that I didn't cry over a fictional character that I knew was going to survive is kind of silly to be like, what's wrong with you? Get over it, guys. It's a television show. So yeah, I mean, of course I'm gonna cry over things when I think like Glenn is dying, or if I think Daryl's gonna die, or if I think, or when I saw Herschel dying, of course I'm gonna cry because I know that this character is dead. I knew Carl wasn't gonna die. Why am I gonna bawl my eyes out over it? Come on, like, get over it. Okay, I'm sorry, end rant. I just like think those kinds of comments are so stupid because you're acting like I'm this heartless bitch that is like cackling maniacally at the fact that this guy got his eye blown out. I know it's gonna happen. It was amazing. It was awesome. Okay, guys, it was awesome. We can't deny it was an awesome scene. Okay, moving right along because this review is taking way too long. Oh, one of my viewers commented the fact that Michonne had no problem whatsoever stabbing Ron. And, you know, I didn't think about it when I was watching the episode because I was just like, thank God for Michonne. And Rick nodded at Michonne and Michonne was like, you know, and it just shows how loyal Michonne is to Rick. It's a little disconcerting that she would just kill the kid right away, and that's what my viewer said, was that it was just like, why couldn't she have knocked him to the ground or stuff. So I've been thinking about it a lot because it is kind of like, wow, she was really willing to kill a child, like, no problem whatsoever in order to save people she cares about. And I think we have to put our minds on the apocalypse here. If you've lived through this for so long, you do things that you wouldn't normally do in normal life circumstances. Also, if you think about, okay, let's say she just knocked him down. If she knocked him out, he would be on the ground, dead weight. He's a teenager, he's heavy, in the middle of a horde of walkers. There's no way that they're going to be able to drag him out when we have Carl dying. Rick's not gonna have anything to do with this kid, and it would be just Michonne trying to drag this dead weight, you know, kid away, and they have Carl to save. And it's kind of like, save Carl, save Ron. Ron tried to kill us, Ron just hurt Carl. Like, I don't know, you just have to way that, I don't even know how to explain it, you know, it did hit me a little bit when I really thought about it, and was like, wow, she didn't have any problem killing a child, like, whatsoever. But then you gotta think about, this is the apocalypse, and people don't think the same way that they used to think in normal everyday life. So I love the wolf exchange between the wolf and Denise throughout the episode. We kind of see a slight change in the wolf, and then, you know, of course Carol eventually kills him. But we see a change in Denise too. She is absolutely terrified at this point. And then at the end, when she's having to save Carl and she runs in, we just see this she's not the, you know, scared, helpless person that she was when we first met her, where she didn't know what she was doing and she just was like, I can't do it. And remember when, who was it? Holly. Remember when they brought Holly in and she was just like, I can't do this, I can't do this. And now we see her just steeling herself for Carl and being, you know, so focused and like, I have to help my patients, I have to. And I just love this, and I love that we're seeing this big change in her where she's being way more confident in this. And I really like the exchange between her and the wolf, and how he was actually trying to help her towards the end, and then, you know, and then he died. But it was really good. We see Rick, after he asks Denise to save Carl, he just goes out and he's like, we're taking back this town, and he's in this rage, this blind rage, and he doesn't, it almost seems like he doesn't even care if he gets himself killed, that he is done with these walkers, he's taking back the town. And this was a really beautiful, beautiful scene. And you might think that's funny that I use those words to describe such a gory, like, graphic scene, but we see him fighting, and then we see Michonne run out, and then we see more residents run out, and then we see, you know, Heath and Spencer and Aaron and more residents that we don't even know, and we see them fighting. And I get chills just thinking about it because, you know, more things happen, but at the end of the episode, it's culminating, and we see Daryl and Abe and Sasha get back, and they use the fuel to light up the pond, and the walkers are all headed that way, and, you know, they're taking back the town. And we see this moment where the scenes start flashing faster and faster and faster, and we see an Alexandrian, Rick, Michonne, Aaron, Heath, and we see them slashing, and then it goes so fast. It's flipping through the characters and the residents so fast that it's almost like it's just one person fighting, and then the very final scene is we see Rick, you know, bring down his hatchet one last time, and it's just like done. And oh my gosh, it was such an intense scene, but you know, it was just, it was brilliant because it showed, I don't even know how to explain it. My mind was so blown at the effectiveness of this scene where Deanna, before she died, said, these are all your people now. And Rick had still had that kind of Alexandrians and the survivors, and there was still this slight separation there. And then having everyone come out and work together and move as one being, as one group of people, and there was no division there. There was no survivors, there was no Alexandrians. They all moved as one. I want to cry because it was so beautiful, and now I'm talk about emotional. God, my mind was so blown by this scene of them working together and the effectiveness of these flashes, these quick flashes of each person fighting and moving as one, as a core group, and they're all Alexandrians. They all belong here in this town, and they're all fighting for it. And at the end, when it's all over and you see all the dead walkers, and then you see a bunch of the residents and a bunch of our main characters standing on the porch waiting, you know, to hear about Carl, and they're all covered in blood. And we see people like Olivia, who has probably never fought in her life. We see her bloody, and she's got a weapon, and she went out there. And even the people who never fight were like, we're gonna fight. And it was just beautiful. And I'm done, and wow, I'm a loser, aren't I? This is ridiculous. Okay, I have to move along. I want to say that this is probably one of the only episodes that I have ever gotten emotional talking about that didn't involve a major character death. So I think that tells you just how effective this entire episode was. And I'm so excited to see the rest of the season, because if each episode is just as amazing as this one was, it's gonna be my best season yet. Oh, of course, Glenn and Enid saving Maggie. That scene was so intense, so utterly intense. And we see a lot of exchange between Glenn and Enid, which I think really progresses Enid's character a lot as well. And then when we see him going for Maggie, and there's this moment where Glenn, I think, knows that he's not going to survive, and he tells, you know, Enid, get Maggie, save Maggie, and she's running to save her. And Maggie is watching him, leading the walkers away. He's yelling at the walkers. He's putting himself in an impossible situation. He knows he's not going to escape. And they're surrounding him, and it was just like, yeah, we're going to lose him again. And then Abraham and Sasha saved the day, and it was just so amazing. And Abraham was hilarious. I love him. I'm going to be really sad if he goes out the same way he does in the comics, because that would make me really, I feel like we would lose a really awesome character and a really good like comic relief that he brings, because he's kind of like, yeah, can you get the gate, as if no big deal, as if Glenn wasn't about to get completely eaten. And so we see Daryl drive in with the fuel truck, and all of this stuff happens, which was amazing use of the fuel truck. I can't help but think, what would have happened if they had lost the fuel truck, or if they hadn't gotten it. There's all these like what ifs, you know, if Abraham and Sasha hadn't gotten there just in time, then Glenn would be dead. Sometimes I think this show is very, there's a lot of like just in the nick of time saves, which probably wouldn't happen in real life, which obviously I'm happy about, you know, these close saves here, because it means that we're keeping characters that I really like. But at the same time, occasionally it becomes a little unrealistic. Like they just happen to get back in time to save Glenn, or they just happen to get a fuel truck, which, oh man, that's really beneficial to saving Alexandria. But you know, it's a TV show and I love it, so I can't complain too much because none of my favorite characters died. Okay, so last but not least, we see Rick leaning over Carl, and he's whispering to Carl about the future of Alexandria, and he hasn't had this feeling since before he woke up from a coma, and he feels excited about the future and excited about Deanna's plans, and he knows that once he knew that they were taking back Alexandria and that it was going to be theirs, he's like, there's not just protecting it anymore, there's not just existing the way we've been existing anymore. We have to branch out, we have to make this a livable future for us. And he so desperately wants to show Carl what this place can be and how it can grow and the future of Alexandria here. And this is such a an awesome moment, because as he's whispering this, Carl, you know, closes his hand as if he can hear his father. Even if he can't, you know, we know that at this point Carl's gonna survive. I think that was just like kind of our clue, like, okay, he's gonna make it, we know he's not gonna die. But it's also this beginning, this new beginning of a new Carl, but also a new Alexandria. And we see this in the very next episode. We're moving towards, you know, bringing agricultural supplies in, which we'll do a separate video for the predictions for the next episode. But we see this future, like this vision of the future of Alexandria, and it's just opening so many storylines here. I should say, and I meant to say this at the beginning when I was talking about Daryl using the rocket launcher to blow up the saviors here. That is, oh, that was a really bad thing that happened. So we know that at this point Negan's gonna want his revenge for that. He's gonna want his payment for the deaths of all of his guys. And that is going to culminate in the season finale when we see someone finally get Lucille'd. And it's a scary moment because it was so awesome and you're like, yeah, you guys deserve to be blown up. But then comic readers know, oh, that was such a bad thing that happened, because that leads to something so much worse. And it opens up this pathway for this Negan storyline to come in, and oh my gosh, I have so much anxiety over it, you guys. I'm excited for Negan, but at the same time, I'm so scared for that season finale that I almost don't want to watch it. Okay, that's it. This is probably a 30-minute long review. Sorry about that. I love this episode so much. It was a 10. It was a total 10 episode. The best episode I think I've ever watched in The Walking Dead. And it's hard to say that. It's hard for me to say this is the #1 episode ever, but I don't think I've ever felt this way about an episode, like so blown away by it. Alright, I'm gonna wrap this up. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. Will you guys please share my videos? I really want to spread the word about my channel, and I want to bring more people in, and I would love it if you would share it and tell your friends to come over and watch it and show some love. Also, I'll be doing a Dead Ahead predictions video coming up next. Maybe not filming it today, I'm running out of time here, but it will be coming this week and I'm really excited about it. So feel free to leave comments down below if I've missed anything or if you want to discuss anything further, and I love you so much and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.